Welcome to the Living to Thrive with Cancer podcast. I'm Catherine White, holistic cancer coach and author. This is the place where we trade fear for hope, confusion for clarity, and overwhelm for empowered action. Whether you're newly diagnosed, living with cancer, or navigating life beyond it, each episode I'll share tools, insights, and real-life inspiration to help you create a life that feels good to live right now in the middle of it all. Let's thrive together. Welcome to the Living to Thrive with Cancer podcast. Today we are joined by my friend Rob Steele, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Rob in a moment. Just before we dive into the episode, though, I just want to say that if you are a new listener, I want to welcome you to the podcast. As a cancer thriver, I use my stories and experiences with stage 4 colon cancer to guide you through your walk with cancer. As a cancer coach, I want to help support you through creating a health-building lifestyle, managing your stress, and helping you to navigate the day in and day out stuff that comes up when you have cancer. As I mentioned in today's episode, I am talking with Rob Steele. Welcome, Rob. Before I get into your bio, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hello, Catherine. Very nice to chat to you today. I'm very privileged to be on this podcast. Thank you.
I think that the listeners are in for a treat because what you do is unique. I have not found anyone like you anywhere. And so this is part of why I wanted to have you here. So I'm going to introduce you to the listeners so they can learn more about you. Our friend Rob here is a 10-year stage 4 melanoma thriver. In 2009, he found a small mole on his neck, and not thinking anything of it, Rob just let it be. At the encouragement of his wife, Mel, Rob went to the doctor, who told him that there was nothing to worry about and sent Rob away with the suggestion to come back in 6 months if anything changed. Still concerned for Rob's health, his wife encouraged him to see another doctor, who decided to send Rob to a dermatologist. From there, a series of appointments and surgery for a diagnosis of melanoma put Rob into the cancer care system and back on the road to health. 5.5 years later, life changed for Rob after an unexpected and surprising health incident that challenged everything he thought he had overcome. In this episode, we're going to take a look at Rob's personal cancer story and the unexpected event that changed everything for him, how Rob reclaimed control of his life through fitness, and what Rob has created to support every cancer survivor through the question, what now? So again, welcome, Rob. I'm just so thrilled to have you here today.
Thank you, Catherine. That's a good introduction. I don't know where to start really, but you kicked it off in 2009. I was very surprised when they diagnosed melanoma because I was a bit naive. I understood skin cancer as being non-aggressive, or it really is just a mole and it would be removed. It was only until I went to Norwich Hospital and I spoke to a dermatologist there who was going to do surgery on my neck. And he did say that you need to read this book, Rob, because this book will go you through the stages of melanoma. So me and Mel, we sat there in the waiting room and he gave us his book. We read through it. We looked at it, but it didn't really sink in. All I looked at was from stage 1 up to stage 4, which is terminal. And he classed mine as like a stage 1, possibly 1B, or possibly 2 if it spread to a lymph node. It was all really confusing. He called me back in the office and he sort of massaged my lymph nodes to check there wasn't any lumps, and I really didn't understand what was going on. I was like, but this is just a mole, like, is this, is it, what is this? And he explained to me that he was then going to go in. The mole had been removed in Stamford Hospital, sorry. And the dermatologist then, when he sewed me back up, it looked like I looked like a raggy doll. I had like black stitching all down my neck. And when my wife saw it, she said, Rob, I think it looks like that's a temporary fix. It looks like they're going to go back in. So the reason I ended up in Norwich Hospital was I was referred there to a specialist, who then was going to go in and do a wide, he was going to cut more of my tissue out to test it, and then he was going to remove the lymph node to then test whether the melanoma had gone to the first lymph node. So it was very scary. I really didn't understand what was going on. And then afterwards, when he'd done all this and he'd removed the lymph node, I was then on like I was waiting for 4 or 5 weeks just before Christmas, this was. And he rung me up and he said to me, Rob, we've got really good news for you. And I went, okay. He goes, it hasn't gone to your lymph node. Right. And he said, so you're extremely lucky. I was, wow, I couldn't believe
That's
it.
a
I felt
relative
like,
term.
wow. I was like, wow, this is super. I've got my life back. Yes, I had a big scar on my neck and I had like disfigurement on, but he was a skilled cosmetic surgeon as well. So the way he cut my neck, he cut into the folds. I had like crease on my neck and he cut within, and it looked like really bad when he first done it, but when it actually calmed down over 2 or 3 months, you would hardly notice it. So from there on, I was pretty much naive because I then thought, oh, I'm cancer free. That's the only treatment I had. He did scare me, so I was very careful in the sun. I did start putting like factor 50 plus on everywhere. So I went back to work, and Catherine, it all went back to normal. I really just didn't even think about it. It was all same old over them years from 2009 to 2015. So it kind of then changed overnight.
Yeah.
And that change was very, very, you can't really explain to anyone unless somebody's been through a brain tumor or you can't really explain how it feels. But I didn't know what was going on. I could see people and I kind of knew who the people were, but the communication had gone.
I was just going to ask you if you,
Yeah.
I remember when we were chatting previously, you talked about, I think you said you were on your bike when you had an incident. Is that right?
Yes.
Would you be willing to share that?
I was riding my bike the night before it happened. The only thing I could say, Catherine, is that 2 weeks previous to this brain tumor, I just felt really fatigued and I got depression. And to be honest, when I went to see the doctor about being depressed, they gave me antidepressants straight away. They didn't even look into the fact that I'd had a melanoma removed and possibly the link between where it was and the brain. She just gave me these antidepressants, said on your way and you'll have to deal with it that way. Well, it just didn't feel right. It didn't sit right to me, and it didn't sit right to Mel either, because I've never suffered from depression. So I think it started then, and then it then went on from, I was working on a laptop, so I used to do IT. And there was one day I was sat in the office and it all just turned into this sort of, it was like I was seeing a light show, like a kaleidoscope. When you're a child, you look through it and you see all the colours. Everything was blurring faces and it was all sort of morphing. And I thought, I rung my wife and she said, you're having a migraine. So, but yeah, I rode my bike that night, and it was as soon as I woke up in the morning, my whole right side had gone.
Sorry, just to read. So in 2009, you had a mole and you had the mole removed and they told you everything was fine.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to 2015 and you think you're having.
It was then, I thought that, when I woke up that morning and I couldn't feel my right side had gone completely and I was being sick. It was just a strange feeling. And then the paramedics told Mel that I'd had a stroke, possible stroke. And do you know what, Catherine? I can remember going into the ambulance and sitting there looking at them, frustrated because I couldn't talk to them. I knew who they were, I didn't know why I was in the ambulance, didn't know what was going on, but I wanted to talk to them and I couldn't. It was so frustrating.
Mm.
Um, and they took me through and scanned me, and then yeah, they then come back and told me that I had a brain tumor on the left lobe. They didn't tell me about any of the other cancers that I had inside, only the main, this was a secondary from the primary from the neck. So it's a secondary cancer. And it was on the left lobe. And it was, I can't remember how big they said it was. It was a good size, but it was pressing on this left lobe, which is affecting my right side. And it affected my speech. And obviously the communication had completely gone.
Ah.
Um, so the funny thing is, when I went into hospital and Mel didn't want to go home, she wanted to stay with me. They put me on a massive dose of steroids to try and bring down the inflammation.
Mhm.
But as soon as they messed about with the steroids, the inflammation would disappear, and then I'd get the right side would go again. My speech would go, my mouth would drop. Then they'd up the steroids, and I'd be back to normal. It was so Mel was coming in getting a different Rob every time she come in our NHS when they come round to the wards, because I was in Leicester Royal Infirmary. It hasn't got the best reputation for general care, but my impression was that when they come round, they had an iPad. And the lady would come round in the morning, she'd say to me, "Hi Rob, what would you like for breakfast, lunch and dinner?" And I'd look at her and go, I couldn't I couldn't converse. I couldn't. So she'd go,
Oh,
"Oh, sandwich. Oh, sandwich. Oh, soup." And in the end, when Mel came, because the visiting hours were quite limited here, so and Mel would come in, and I've had all these bowls piled up because, and I couldn't eat, Catherine, because my right side,
oh,
I've got them right-handed, so I was literally trying to eat with a spoon,
oh my gosh.
and it was everywhere.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
everywhere. Yeah.
That is that I was going to say unfortunate. That's tragic. We here in Canada have some medical care system issues also. Um, but yeah, the care of a patient needs to be obviously managed very closely and a bit concerning that you weren't having food.
There, I mean, if it weren't for Mel coming in, I have to be honest, Carol, I don't think I'll be here because I seriously think that, first of all, they have a board behind you, a big whiteboard, and they write your name on. You've got a tag on as well with your date of birth, and they always check that. They check they're giving you medication, but on the board, at one point, it just said my name. It should, and it will say your nurse underneath. It should have said neuro or something
Mm.
underneath, converse or can't communicate. Do you know what I mean? I could point, obviously, but so I used to call usher her over in the end and point to. She still didn't get it, Catherine. I don't think they were trained to deal with neuro patients because she just
Mm.
looked at me as if I was. I have to admit, I felt stupid. So every time they come round, I hid because I couldn't deal with their faces or the fact that they were looking at you like you really don't know what you're doing, or it was a bizarre feeling, but it didn't change even when I moved hospitals. So to cut a long story short, they were trying to get the swelling down on the brain by adjusting the steroids, and they put me on dexamethasone,
Mm.
which is a nasty. It really, once you're on that, it's really hard to get weaned off it. They then said to Mel, so Mel will be coming in for 3 weeks. I was in Leicester Royal. Then they were saying to her, we might move him, we might not. We might move him, we might not. Then they rushed me to Queen's Med in Nottingham. because they're a neuro hospital. They specialised in brain,
Mm.
and they're top of the game with neuro. They're top of the game, but the iPad wasn't. It was still, I was in the neuro ward and they were still doing the same thing. They were
Huh.
still coming in and saying, what do you want for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Catherine, I couldn't even, if somebody asked me, even now, I'm very slow. The processing isn't 100%, but if somebody had fired them three questions at me, I just wanted to hide. I couldn't deal with not, it was really frustrating. So I used to swear. I used to constantly swear because I had no language. So that
So
was
you
my
couldn't
only
talk.
outlook, my only outlet.
You couldn't talk,
But
but
I
you
could
could
swear.
curse.
I could very, very bad, bad. I felt terrible because they didn't really know I was doing it, to be honest. It was just my language had and yeah, so they put me on a neuro ward, and there was people on there who had epilepsy. They were having multiple seizures. There was a guy next to me, very young guy. He was having seizures all night. He was epileptic, and I can always remember him saying to him, "You're going to be able to go out tomorrow." And he said, "Oh right." And then he had a seizure. He said, "You can't go out tomorrow." Then there was one night, Catherine, there was a guy opposite me. He was running around the ward naked,
Oh,
completely naked, and they were chasing him.
oh,
And you know what I thought? I thought, oh my God, I've lost it. I really am losing my mind.
yeah. So you
Um,
don't know what's happening. You're in the hospital.
no,
Your neuro pathways are not functioning, and you're just trying to like get by day to day. Is that right?
yeah, I was my. I mean, I was. How can I put it? I was inside. I was functioning, and do you know what it felt like? It kind of felt like, do you know when you've got your TV and you put it on standby, shuts it all down? So I was on like an energy saver. It felt like I was on a standby. So my energy, because my brain wasn't functioning, it was kind of shutting things down. It was a strange feeling. And if people ever ask me, I try to, you can't explain it. It's really hard to explain unless you've been in, either locked in, or it was like being in a nightmare. It was a nightmare because people say to you after you've had cancer that you're brave, or oh, you've battled cancer. And I didn't really, I couldn't relate to that because I didn't see it as a battle. I didn't see it as I was brave. I had no choice. It was either
Mm.
fight it, you know, fight it, or that was it, wasn't it? It was um so they removed the tumor. This is I found this funny. It's not funny really, but it is funny looking back now. They came around and told me, now bear in mind I can't talk. A nurse come round and she said to me, we're going to operate on your brain tomorrow. We want you to be ready at 6 in the morning. I didn't know what time it was, 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, or 6 at night. I had no idea. But so sat there looking at her, and she came round in the morning because sleep, Catherine, was very. When I went to sleep, it was like dark, a gone sleep, not a very deep sleep. You know, um, they did say to my wife that at one point I was having possible seizures in the night while I was asleep. Don't know because I was asleep, but yeah, she woke me up in the morning. This nurse, same nurse, she sat on my bed. She said, "Your gown is ready. Can you get the gown on? You're going to surgery. We're going to wheel you down in the bed. Anything you need to ask me." I was like, um, swearing. What? I don't. I was like,
Oh,
And then she come back 10 minutes later and said, "You're not ready. You're not ready, Rob. What's going on?" Well, can you imagine, Catherine? She said, "Do you know how to get dressed?" And I was like, "Oh my God, this is a nightmare." I was swearing. I thought she was going to throw me out of the hospital. So she got the
Oh,
gown. She took, she went and got a male nurse. He come back, stripped me, put this gown on. It was just, you feel so vulnerable. It's like, and then they took me down, and I can remember the anaesthetist obviously going laid on the table, and he says he explains to you what he's gonna do. Put the
hmm.
mask on, count down from 10, and I and he was looking at me as if to say, "Why are you not answering?" And I'm like, "I'm laying in a hospital. I'm going into surgery to have a brain tumor removed, and you're asking all me all these questions." It was so. I can remember this, Catherine, as well. They operated. It was four. I think it was 4.5 hours, something like that. They told Mel that you may not get Rob back. They said, "We don't know what Rob you're going to get because we're doing a craniotomy. So they're going to drill into the skull. They're going to remove the tumor. We're going to see what Rob you get back." Well, I'm not sure. It must have been really hard for Mel because I was going into surgery. I'm knocked out, so I'm not worried at all because I didn't know what was going on, luckily. But Mel was just, she was walking round and round and round, waiting. I mean, that's 4 hours. That's a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And you haven't had an
so
opportunity at this point to talk with
you
her
know,
about anything because you're non-communicative. So
no,
you
I
haven't
had
had a
no,
chance to process outside of the thoughts inside of your head, like where you knew what was happening, but you couldn't
yeah,
share what was happening.
no, I couldn't. It's you just can't really explain it. And it's not something that's ever gone, Catherine. It's still with me now. It's always, you know, it's like my first couple of months after the surgery, I was always waking up and like moving my hand, moving my arm because I wasn't sure, have I lost it? Have my right side gone? So there was a lot of coming to terms with all of that. But the funny thing was, when I come round after the surgery, you've obviously got bandaged and you're on all the monitors on, and I woke up and I see all these ladies and I thought I was in a prisoner war camp because they
Oh,
kept coming up and they were going, hello, Rob, hello, Rob. And I'm like, oh, where am I? Where am I? Who are
wow.
you? So I started talking, but it wasn't very clear. It was very mumbo jumbo. I was kind of, it's quite funny, but I was actually, the words that I couldn't get in the sentence, I was sticking in other random words that didn't make any sense. It
Yeah.
was very odd. And then when they sent me back to the neuro ward where I was before, next to the guy who had epilepsy, bless him, I kept saying to the nurse, please, I'm not being, can you please just draw that curtain? I need some peace. So, yeah, and remarkably, I'd had brain surgery, if I can remember, I'm sure it was on the Monday. And I was asking to go home on the Tuesday because I said to the nurse, I'm ready to go home now. She went, you're not going yet. You've had brain surgery. You can't go yet.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going. I put my bag at the bottom of the bed. She said, you're not going anywhere. I said, I'm fine. You know, she said, I need to get that catheter removed. If I can remove that and you can go for the toilet, go to the toilet with no problem at all, you can go home on Wednesday. So come Wednesday, I was there, bag at the bottom of the bed. Mel come in with her dad. Mel's dad used to come with her. I said, I'm going home. When Mel said to me, no, you're not. You can't come home. I said, I'm going home. Well, they let me go, Catherine, right? And they're coming out of the hospital and getting into the car. This is just, I'll always remember this. Because your brain is sort of, it's still, you've had the operation, so everything's very slow. It's all slowed down. Um, when I was sat in the passenger seat of the car, because they worried about all the, the bumping and jumping and everything, I was looking round, everything was moving so quick. Everybody was walking so fast, cars were driving, moving so fast that my brain couldn't keep up with it.
Mm.
It was like so many seconds behind everything that was going on. And I was still getting the bright lights, like these fireworks, lights of blue and lights of white coming. And I just thought, this can't be this can't be it, surely. I think from then on, I then decided this is going to change and this isn't going to be how it is.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I did have immunotherapy. They put me on immunotherapy for one session. Oh, sorry, to cut back. I had to go and see my oncologist at Leicester Royal. And when I had a meeting with him and he called me into for a consultation, he said to me, Rob, I've been trying to find you for ages.
That's a little disconcerting. Like, you were lost?
But I've been in neuro, I've been in Nottingham. He said, but you should have come back here. What happened is the NHS here, Nottingham, Leicester, they're all under different trusts. So the databases and everything it's strange. They're not linked. So when I left Queen's Med, it wasn't put on the system at Leicester Royal. So I'd gone basically AWOL. So when he then see me, he said, oh, okay. Right. He said, your brain tumor's been removed, but he said, I don't think they've got it all out. I think, there's still, and I said, no, the surgeon told me that basically he'd removed all the tumor. And he said, well, let's look at the scans then. He was quite blunt. He said to me, I was like, right. So Mel sat with me. He said, well, you've definitely got one on your lung, your left lung. You got one on your chest gland. You got one on your liver, and you've got one on your, was it lymph node? I don't know. And he said to me, so he said to me, I'm going to give you 6 months. And I looked and went, 6 months, but my brain tumor has been removed. He said, Rob, it's melanoma. You're stage 4. This isn't. He was actually, I preferred his way because he was very blunt and he never he should have asked me if I wanted a prognosis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really.
Prognosis is very powerful. I really feel like that should be a personal choice. I didn't get mine. I didn't want it. And so I really believe that you should be asked, in my opinion, whether you want it or not. Yeah. So he tells you you're stage 4 and he tells you you've got 6 months.
6 months, possibly 9, if I behave myself. This is his words. Dr. Guy Faust, he's absolutely top of his game in melanoma, and he kept me alive. So he said to me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on IPI, which is an immunotherapy. It's very, very strong. It hadn't been out that long, Catherine. I think it came out 2013, 2012. It was a very, very new treatment.
Mm-hmm.
The scientists who developed this, I actually read up on. It's absolutely amazing. This guy is it's just amazing how he made this immunotherapy. It's just incredible. And so Guy said to me, Dr. Faust said to me, we're going to send you to the moon. That was his words. We don't know if you're going to come back or not. And I was like, look to Mel. Well, Mel's absolutely flood of tears. And I said to him, I will.
Yes, I love that.
I said, I will come back. I will be back. But I said, look, I'll take the treatment. I don't want to know the side effects. I have to tell you the side effects. All right. Well, any side effects they told Mel, because I thought if they're going to tell me, you're going to start psychologically putting it in your brain that you're going to get all these side effects.
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to what he was saying, but I didn't really take note on. There was a lot of autoimmune, headaches, sickness, the normal sort of. It's a strong treatment. So
Yeah.
one infusion, and it absolutely half killed me. The thing that they did warn me that you either respond to IPI and it will work after 2 treatments. I think it was only four treatments, and I managed to get to 2, but then it was toxic. It was just I lost too much weight. They messed about with my steroids, and then I realised that when I went back to see the doctor after the second infusion, he took me off it. He said, "Rob, what are you doing in a wheelchair?" And I went, "I can't walk." And he went, "Why?" And then I said, originally before that, I see my GP, and he said to me, "You're on a lot of steroids, Rob. You're on a lot of." I think I was on eight
Oh, wow.
tablets. It was a horrendous amount of steroids, and all that. And I think what happened, Catherine, is because my body really hadn't recovered from the brain surgery, so the steroid was, I wasn't strong enough to be put on immunotherapy. Knowing now what I know now, I wasn't. They should have got me. So the cancer was growing, but it was at a stage where they should have given me just a couple more months to get my strength back.
Mm.
Maybe then, you don't know. But yeah, he took me off it. He said, "We're going to rest it for a little while." He said, "I'll send you to a palliative care nurse." I'm like, "Palliative care? That's end of life." And he went, "Well, you are end of life."
Okay. Wow, there
And
it is.
so I was like, right, so okay. So I see her and she said, "You're on too many steroids." She weaned me off them. And then about a month later, I started walking. And then I was like, I'm feeling good. I'm going to start walking more. I'm going to get out every day. Started walking with a wheelchair. Me and Mel went out every single day. The Macmillan nurse that come to see me said, "You need a wheelchair." And I said, "You can deliver the wheelchair, but it's going to sit in the porch."
Yes, I
But
love
she
that.
was so lovely. She was so lovely because she said to me, "Rob, the wheelchair will get you out. It may even help you get walking again." Um, so there was a lot of things that obviously you're told you're terminal, you put on a treatment, you're then told that you're going to palliative, you're then thinking, is this it? They're then giving me oral, what's it called? It's a painkiller, and I had it in a Oromorph, which is a really strong painkiller. I used to look at this, Catherine. I'm going to be honest with you. I used to look at it and think, if I drink it, will this be the end? Is this it? Do I need to put up with this? And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to carry on. I'm going to beat this. It ain't going to beat me. So I carried on. I got stronger and walking, went back, and he put me on a treatment that was, again, brand new. So he put on another trial, and it was called Dab and Tram, 2 oral tablets. They affected your, the way you took it. There was a real regime how you took it. You had to take it 2 hours before food. So you took the tablet. You couldn't eat because it had to get into the stomach, dissolve, and then you can start eating. So there was a lot of, I read a lot. I probably knew more than what Dr. Faust did about melanoma in the end, because I was end up questioning him about my treatment. I'd had gone to see another professor in Nottingham about, am I doing the right treatment here? And he said, "Dr. Faust is one of the best doctors you're going to get with melanoma." And that was it. So 18, 20 months, I was stable then. Tumours all still there. Brain was still clear, hadn't come back. So I was getting stronger. So I started rebuilding. So I got the bike. I bought a lovely road bike and I sat it at the bottom of my bed. And each morning I'd wake up looking at it thinking, it will come a time when I couldn't even lift the thing in the car, but there will come a time when I can ride it.
Mm.
So I set up a trainer in the bedroom. And because my right leg had obviously lost quite a bit of muscle, I started riding one legged, one using my right leg only to get that strength back. And I think I'd 5 minutes, and then I just cried. Oh, I just sobbed. I couldn't get off the bike because it was just and I think I was sobbing through sheer joy because I felt like then that I'd got control. Um,
Mm.
the bike could give me the control back.
Yeah, control is huge. And so many people I talk to say, like, I feel like I don't have any control. You actually have a lot of control, but in your case, like this is it's a really harrowing story of like from the beginning to sitting in your room looking at this bike and thinking, but I love that you framed it around like sobbing from joy of this being in this place where you can look at this bike and know.
Yeah,
There's a quote on your website. You said, "Cancer had taken my strength, my speech, even my balance, but I was determined it wouldn't take my spirit." I love that so much. It's
I
like,
think that was very deep. I I think, Catherine, as you'll know, um, if you're stage 4, you get very deep within yourself. I isolated myself because I wanted to fight this with everything I had. So people, friends and family when they came, they were limited time because I didn't have the energy. I was trying to put all my energy into, I mean, poor Mel, she really had to, she was a warrior herself because I will always say that, yeah, the cancer patient goes through this turmoil and all the treatment, but it's the family that have the worst of it because they see you deteriorating. They see you not the same, not the
yeah,
same.
yeah.
Um, they have a lot of mental anxiety and stuff about, Mel said to me she used to watch me while I was asleep because she weren't sure, is Rob breathing? Mel thought that, you know, especially after the first bout of immunotherapy, and Dr. Fair saying that I had 6 months. When you're told 6 months, you then get to them 6 months, and then you start looking at, well, I'm on borrowed time.
Mm.
And the amount of people that said, you're lucky. One person said to me, but Rob, you're a lucky unlucky. And I looked at her and thought, what are you?
As I don't think people understand the words that come out of their mouth sometimes are like, I really don't feel like I'm lucky. And I really don't feel like, I'm an inspiration or this is a gift or like, I mean, there's lots of things around it, but sometimes people are just like, oh, well, you look so good. Like, you must be getting better. Or things like, yeah. And meanwhile, you're still trying to put your life back together.
I think, yeah, that's definitely correct, Catherine. I think when you've had cancer, you're never the same. You will never be the same person. I always remember worked with a lady called Heather. It's a volunteer group. So I had to deal with my mental health was shocking. I mean, you're told you're terminal, then you're told you're not, then you're told you might live, then you're told you won't live, then you're told the tumour's growing, then the tumour's shrinking. It's all very much every minute of the day counted, as in I made use of every bit of time I had. There
Yeah.
was no time to waste. So I was, if not building strength, I was spending more time on my wife and my family and friends because I just thought there isn't much time left. And it really puts everything in perspective.
Hmm.
Somebody said to me, what did you think when you were told you had 6 to 9 months? And I said, when you go to the optician, you put a pair of glasses on and they tinker with your eyes and it goes clear. And I said, that's how I felt. You've got poor eyes, blurry, then all of a sudden it's clear. and you can see life is very short, very quick. And I used to say to people, I don't wish this on you, but I wish you the feeling of how it feels to be told that your life it's never ending, that you don't get comfortable with I'm going to live forever.
Mm,
It's changes everything, Kat. And, yeah, Heather said to me, Rob, you are now a new model. So you were 1 and now you're 1.2, and you may even go to 1.4. So, and I thought that really, she really helped me deal with the mental side of things, because she was somebody who had breast cancer. She was somebody who went through not immunotherapy, but she'd been through all the surgery and the treatment. And she really was a person that I didn't know her that long. I'd had friends that I'd had for 20 years, but as soon as somebody said to me they had cancer, you're on a different level.
yeah,
You go from friend level to cancer level. It's deeper. There's more to it. There's no small talk. You're on a deeper level.
yeah,
And I always felt like the people that I knew weren't on that level. So I found it quite difficult. Small talk I couldn't deal with weather and news and things like that. It was I'd gone from somebody who was working constantly. I used to do graphic design, web design. So I was working Monday to Friday. I had 2 contract jobs, and I worked weekends as well, just to
mm,
get money, just to get extra money. And then it brings you back thinking, why? Why do you need to have more money to then have more money?
mm.
Do you know what I mean? It's like to have a bigger car, to have a bigger house, to have never ending.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Those things seem
so
so frivolous. They feel like they're not important things. So what I love about your
yeah,
story is how you have taken your own health story and you have turned it into a way to help other people. And so, can you tell us a little
definitely,
bit
yeah.
about how movement, you talked about your bike, like how movement came back into your life, and then what you are doing with that to support other people? Because it's just such I don't typically use the words journey, but your cancer journey has been ongoing since 2009. And yet, as like I said on your website, that beautiful quote about like not letting cancer take the things away from you, and it's actually given you this opportunity to do something with your life. So can you tell us about the whole bit around movement and fitness and what you do?
I mean, I'm very privileged what I do, Catherine. I would never, I would do it free, because it's so rewarding, because you can empathize on every single level, and you get. So I did go and do like instructor and personal training, and I wasn't interested in bodybuilding or anything like that. I was interested in getting people out of bed or functional exercise so they can carry their shopping. And I found that my small, like, I call them micro movements. So they're like movement snacks, is what I would say. They're 5 minutes of squats, press ups, core work, and things like that, And I found that when I started doing those, not only did it give me control back, but it helped my mental health. It helped me confidence. Um, so I started doing those movements myself. So it was a kind of a mix of yoga, and then I'd do interval training on the bike, and I ended up going out riding. I'd done rides for cancer. I'd done a lot of, uh, raising for melanoma, because it's more personal for me. Some work for cancer research. Um, and I just thought, I've got to take this further. I'm very if I get a bee in my bonnet, I have to then push and then keep pushing it. And I wear myself out with it most of the time because I'm probably overthinking absolutely everything. But unless I do something, I have to keep doing. I have to keep improving all the time and doing more of it.
Mm.
So yeah, these movement. So personal training. The lady who coached me said to me, "Rob, I told her what I wanted to do, and she went, "You're going to be a great trainer." She said, "I can see it just from you working with that lady there, because they had to like video you doing the course and things like that." And I said, "Oh, thank you." And it's took me 2 years to get down to the oncology. So, but that was quite hard work. I found that my brain doesn't hold the information like it
Mm.
used to. It
Hmm.
goes in and it goes in one ear and out the other. But I realized that you have to adapt. So your brain, the way I worked it, I helped my brain work with me, and I assisted it in a way that now, so I can study now without um, being overwhelmed by all the information. And this, it's just the way I've worked it. And the same as movement, I get a lot of fatigue, and I'm going to be doing a Zoom session. It's only 30, 40 minutes, but it's going to be aimed towards immunotherapy, post immunotherapy, even during immunotherapy. But now there's long term research coming out about the chronic fatigue that immunotherapy does to your body, and it destroys all your energy. And it's not only that, but it destroys your motivation. So if you had motivation before, it's a lot harder to get motivated to exercise or to keep fit. And I think I could say to somebody, you need to do 20 squats or 20 press ups. These people can't even hardly get out of a chair. They've been on steroids, or muscle mass has deteriorated and they can't move. So my the reason I'm babbling on a bit, but the reason I got into it and started looking at it was when a physio came to see me, and she said, "Can you stand up?" I said, "Well, I can stand up." She said, "But Rob, you're shaking." I said, "Well, I haven't got any muscles. I've,
Mm.
I've got muscle wastage from steroids." She said, "Oh, I can't believe." And I'm like, "Hold on a minute. You've done 6 years of your degree and your neck." She can't actually see that I haven't got any leg muscles. So,
Yeah.
and I thought, I've got to give something back. So I'm now creating, yeah. So it's going to be a small, I'm not very techy with Zoom or like yourself, like a podcast. It's going to take a lot of learning, but so I'm doing a small Zoom session to go through what is fatigue, how to conquer it, how to work with it. You won't ever beat fatigue, I don't think. My opinion is
Mm.
fatigue will always be there. You've had a lot of powerful treatment, but you can work with it. And it's knowing when to work and when to rest and how to pace it. Um, and it took me from 2015 up till now. So that's 10 years. I don't know many physios that have done 10 years living with fatigue that can
Mm.
really get to grips or empathize with it. Don't think they can unless they've been through it, Catherine.
And
Really.
that's the brilliance of what you're doing, is that you've taken your story of a mole that became a brain tumor and everything that you went through. That, like, thank you so much for sharing everything that you've been through, and then how it's brought you.
You're
I just
welcome.
love how it's brought you to this place where you're now exercising with other people and encouraging other people with cancer to move their bodies. And there's so many studies that are coming out right now about the benefits of movement for people during cancer treatment and post cancer, so that
Mhm.
you're actively doing that is just so important. But I love this piece about fatigue, because I don't know many stage 4 10-year survivors. I think I know you and me, and maybe a few other people that aren't in my immediate
Yeah.
circle. But I know that I have this level of fatigue still. And I did 12 rounds of chemotherapy in 2015. I've had 6 surgeries, and I know that the anesthesia plays a part in your brain and your fatigue levels. So this conversation around fatigue, and I would encourage anyone that's listening to sign up for your fatigue workshop. We'll put that in the show notes for them. It's just
Yeah,
there are
yeah,
days where I'm like, why am I so tired? Like, is it because I'm 53? Is it because I'm, in menopause? Is
yeah.
it because of the cancer? Like, why do I feel this just deep, difficult to explain level of fatigue? And so I'm really grateful to you that you're addressing this as part of your own healing process, and to support other people.
Well, I think that, I always wanted to give something back, and I always, yes, I'm like 10 years. And I think I've always had to live with fatigue, and it's chronic, Catherine. It's not something that you can ever change. You've just got to learn to live with it. But that's the main thing. You won't ever get rid of it, but it's learning to live with it. If you can learn to live with it with movement and nutrition and mental health, that it's kind of like I see it as a big circle of life. So you've got your mental health, your mind, your body, and it all fits together. It all
Yeah.
fits together because family, friends, social, it's all a big circle. If you can get it right, um, and you pace it right. I was talking to a lady a few weeks ago now. She actually came through my Facebook, and she said, "Rob, I've seen, you do stuff with fatigue and that." And I was having a good chat with her, and blimey, she went through bouts of immunotherapy, and she was really fit before she had the treatment and everything like that. But she can't get motivated. She said, "My motivation is absolutely nothing, absolutely gone." Very similar to myself. But yeah, she said, procrastinating constantly,
Yeah.
which is what I spent years doing. I'm going to, and I never got around to doing anything. Just one other point I wanted to make as well, which I didn't actually point it out with, because where my left lobe, my tumor was, the left lobe is mainly for planning. So things like menus, recipe, following a recipe was so frustrating. And I realized then, if I do more of it, same as fitness or movement, if I do more of it, it's going to build the pathways, it's going to build up the brain. And it worked. I was doing more cooking. In fact, I think Mel was loving it because I had hundreds of cookbooks. I was watching cooking all the time, and I was building up these recipes and making all these dinners, and it was actually my therapy. I found it. My therapy was cooking, movement, um, and it just helped me get through it, I think.
Yeah. You can
Um,
retrain your brain, right? And rebuild those neural pathways. I remember when I was doing treatment, I was doing crossword puzzles and knitting, trying to keep that brain and
yeah,
manual connection, but also like find my vocabulary, because words were disappearing and sentences were complicated, and it was thoughts weren't coming. So that whole piece of the neural pathways and what happens to them during treatment, surgery, and you had invasive brain surgery like right in there. Like, I love that you're sharing this, because cancer can take so much away from a person, but you can reclaim pieces. You can reclaim the pieces that feel right for you, and retrain your body and rebuild your spirit, and take what other people would think is a tragedy and turn it into learning opportunities and growth and possibility. And I think that's what you're doing. I believe that that's what you're doing.
definitely, Catherine. I think that you said it right. Cancer changes you, but it's changed me for better. I am 100% a better person. I've got more empathy. I've got more patience. Oh yeah, you do get. I do nag and stuff sometimes, but so does everybody. You do get down. You get anxious. It's part of life. But do you know what? You can get worries and things can happen, or you get pains or things like that, and you're always thinking. You get a little pain. You think, is that cancer come back? That's never really gone. But what I do now is I always think, oh, things could be so much worse.
Mm.
Things can be so much worse when you have a little worry and you think it's not a worry at all, really. It's nothing in comparison to what you've
Yeah.
been through, the treatment. And
Yeah.
um, so, yeah, it's definitely something that I'm doing now is I seem to be on my right path, what I should have been doing. So it
Yeah.
kind of weirdly seems a bit, it should have happened. It's strange. I should be doing it.
Mm.
So maybe it's meant to be. I don't know. I'm a bit sort of I am open minded, but I just think it was given to me, and I'm just gonna I'm stronger by it. I'm stronger by it. So it's
Oh,
helped me in a way, really.
yeah, that's beautiful. That actually leads into the question that I always love to ask people on the
Yeah.
podcast. It's just such a beautiful, it's like you planned it to just lead into this question. It's like, so the question is, what does living to thrive mean to you?
Well, I don't even really need to think about it because I always think it's alive, stronger, and the most important thing, I think, my opinion anyway, is free. So, yeah, alive, stronger, and free because
Mm.
you're free from all the ties, you're free from everything because um, you've changed. Your life is turned upside down. And whatever you do post cancer, it will always be something you really want to do.
Mm.
It's, you know, completely different, as you'll understand. And anyone who's listening would understand that um, free, if I'm saying it right, because sometimes I say things
Nope,
and I
you've got
think
it.
because of my language before, have I said that right? No. Yeah. Um, it is though. Could I go back to my old career? Could I go back to my old? No, never. The thing that my career, I actually just going back quickly. I actually tried to get back into my web and graphic design, and I loved it for years. And I realized I didn't love it. It's just profound when you think you spend 25 years doing something and you realize that you don't enjoy it.
Wow.
So, and then you look back and you think it wasn't a wasted time. I did enjoy what I was doing. At the time, I was enjoying it. But when this all happened, cancer, it changed. And you then realize that, I always think that, and I was working with a guy, he's a neuroscientist. So he's worked at Nottingham and he's a very clever guy. And he said to me, a door shuts, you walk down the corridor, and I just love this. That door shuts, that's your cancer. You walk down the corridor, finding the door that's going to open. And I thought, I love that saying.
I love
And it
that.
is true. It's like that door will shut. And while you're going through treatment and everything, you're just waiting for the door to open for you to go through and change everything. It's, but like you said, don't go with a prognosis. Don't try and avoid getting a prognosis because if you've got any type of mental health or anything, a prognosis can bring you down.
Mm.
I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
you just need to know what the treatment is, what you're dealing with, and fight it from there. That's all you need to know. Um,
Brilliant.
so I'm kind of hoping it will help anyone that's listening, um, especially if they're terminal, if they've been told they're stage 4. stage 4 is never the end, never the end. And
No.
when I was told I was stage 4, all right, I was actually told there isn't a stage 5. But I thought, well, I'll make my own stage 5.
And that is living.
So my stage 5 is NED.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. That is one of the myths that I want to bust in this work that I'm doing as a coach and on the podcast, and is that, we don't have to be numbers, and numbers don't dictate your story. You get to choose. Now there are some things that we can't control in the story, but one of my biggest things that I really want people to know is, if you've been told that you have a stage 4 diagnosis, historically people think that that is the end. That is the end game. And I think you and I are proof. And I know there are many other stage 4 survivors, thrivers out there that would agree that stage 4 is not the end, that there is so much possibility. And not everybody, I just have to say it plainly, not everybody dies from a stage 4 diagnosis. There's still a lot of life
Yeah,
happening with people who have been told that they are stage 4. And I think that,
yeah.
what you said about the freedom and the opportunities and your story, all of it shows that the human spirit, I think, is much stronger than sometimes it is given credit for.
I think, yeah, you're right, Catherine. I think anyone that's been told that, like you said, they're stage 4, or they haven't got long, their prognosis is absolutely dire. I think the way you look at it is you take every single day and you tell yourself every single day that this, whatever it is, whatever cancer, will never beat you. And I always said to myself that whatever happens, it will never beat me. It will always be. I'd never wanted to be defined as having cancer. So I tried not to tell people. A lot of people found out, but because you get the cancer look, which is they feel sorry for you. And
Yes.
I just thought, I've got cancer and I'm still really living with cancer, but I'm stronger than cancer. So it's not, it's had its go. Maybe there will be years to come when I'm older, and it'll probably have another go, or I call it like you'll probably try and have another party. But I just think that it isn't strong enough at the moment.
Mm.
I think you've got to think for your mental side is go deeper and think that you are stronger than any cancer.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that. I think that's a brilliant way to wrap up the conversation, is like, yes, you are stronger than you think, and you are stronger than any cancer, and just believe in yourself and all of the things that are possible. So, Rob, I just want to thank you so much for your honesty and your transparency, and the truths that you shared about what your cancer story has looked like, and how you're just the picture of this spirit that can rise above things when there are challenges. And you certainly shared, a number of the challenges you experienced along the way, but here you are working with people who have cancer, and as I mentioned, running a fatigue workshop. So we'll make sure that people know where they can find you to sign up for that, because I think that's an
Thank you.
invaluable
Yeah.
resource. And you have a Facebook community, and I'm going to link that in the show notes also for people to connect with
Yes.
you
Thank
there.
you.
Yeah, and your website. I just
Thank you
think the
very much.
more people see that there are resources and support out there, that is so important. So thank you for being here today
Thank you,
and for
Catherine.
sharing.
It's a privilege. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
So to the listeners, if you have found what you've learned here today to be helpful, I would like to invite you to share it with other people so that they can also benefit from this episode, helping sharing helps Rob and the work that he's doing, and myself and the work that I am doing to support more people who are living with cancer and help them move from survivor to thriver. And if you enjoyed this podcast episode or other episodes, you can go ahead, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening, follow on YouTube. And I would love for you to go to the show notes, find Rob, find myself, get on our email list so that you can stay connected to us. And I just invite you to come back to more episodes of the Living to Thrive with Cancer podcast. Again, a big thanks to Rob for being here today. And I look forward to seeing people on future episodes of the podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And may you live your life to your fullest, follow your heart, and thrive in all you do.